Hello everyone, welcome to soundproofguide.com. In this video, I will talk about the 15 best soundproofing material to soundproof a door, a window, or a wall. Basically anything that you would want to use to soundproof a home, this is what we'll be talking about in this video. Every person has a different reason for wanting soundproofing material to make their home a little bit quieter and isolated. Soundproofing material works pretty well by themselves, but if you coupled it with a second or third soundproofing material, you could make a wall, window, or door a lot better isolated for sound. All of the materials that I'll be talking about in this video are pretty easy to find online and in your local hardware store. However, I will leave a link in the description below so it's easy for you to find. These materials are used by both professionals and people that just wants to tackle the soundproofing project by themselves. The first one on our list is green glue noise proofing compound. Many people believe that green glue noise proofing compound is one of the best material for soundproofing out there right now. It can go in areas that other soundproof material simply can't. When most people are setting up a soundproofing area, they use drywall or plywood as layers. To make sure that those two materials don't make a lot of sound, they need to have sound dampening materials between them. For big projects or small, green glue is very dependable for anyone out there. It comes in portable tubes that makes it easy to apply anywhere, and they also sell them in 5-gallon buckets for bigger projects. It is an acoustic compound that every single person should try when doing some soundproofing construction. The reason why I say that this is a good soundproofing product is because it's easy for anybody to apply. All you do is you put it between 2 layers of drywall and you're pretty well done. And the cost of a tube is between $15 and $20, and you would need 2 tubes per sheet of drywall. So this can be expensive if you have a lot of walls or if you want to soundproof an entire house, which if that's the case, I would not recommend this product. But if you're just wanting to do a quick DIY project and you might just have one wall to soundproof, this is a pretty good way to go. For more information on this particular product and the next product I'll be talking about, there's a link that should pop up there that leads you to a video explaining this process and this product. And number 2, green glue noise proofing sealant. Now, you don't need to use green glue, you can just use a generic brand of an acoustic sealant, but this is just the one that we use. The green glue noise proofing sealant is slightly different than the compound, but works in a lot of the same ways. The compound is used more for generic purposes as it can connect 2 pieces of mass when soundproofing an area. The sealant is more for those hard to reach spots while people try to fill in some cracks. A sealant allows for some pinpoint accuracy so that everything becomes closed off as much as possible. Green glue helps with noise control since it kills sound, but it also prevents air from passing through certain areas. Having green glue sealant at home, ready to go for any issues that might pop up, is a smart way to go. A person never knows when it might come in handy. If you like this type of content, consider subscribing to my channel. I would also appreciate you leaving a comment if you have any soundproofing questions or comments for me to answer. I will provide links to each and every one of these products I talk about in this video in the description below for you to purchase. And now back to the video. Number 3, soundproof blanket. Walk into any recording studios and chances are there will be a few soundproof blankets around. They are very similar to soundproofing curtains and they make sense as something that is very flexible to move around anywhere for coverage. Some people will install soundproofing blanket and let them be, while others will move their blankets around and use them when necessary. Soundproofing blankets are much improved compared to how they were in the past. In just the last few years, they are thicker and more useful than ever before. They are also coming down in price because of a lot of online competition, which is great for the consumers. The one downfall of the blankets compared to curtains is that they aren't quite as easy to hang unless you buy the ones with grommets. They do, however, show off their flexibility by going virtually anywhere. They can even be folded up and placed in the areas that need a bit more coverage. Another reason why these blankets are pretty good for soundproofing, if you live in a temporary setting like an apartment, is that if you're looking to soundproof a door, you can buy these blankets the same size as most doors. So it's perfect to soundproof doors in apartments. or if you're just looking to soundproof a door temporarily. Number 4, soundproofing curtains. Windows in homes have always had trouble staying completely soundproof. It is one of the easiest ways for noise to escape out of a home as well as enter. It's pretty frustrating sometimes to find a solution that actually works. This is a way for obviously to soundproof windows without making it look painfully obvious and an eyesore. There used to be only a few solutions for people who wanted to invest in soundproofing curtains. Now there are more options than ever, and some of them are very stylish. They also act as a way to completely block light during the day, which comes in handy for people who are trying to keep energy bills down and a room particularly dark. Soundproofing curtains work well around windows, but they're also perfectly fine to use along walls without windows as well. Number 5, putty pads. Putty pads are something that a lot of people use when covering up electrical outlets and other smaller essential areas like that. The main use is to prevent the chance of a fire starting, but the mass added also helps with sound. It might not make a huge difference for some people, but it is part of a process that no one should ever overlook while building a home. Obviously, putty pads are better for people that are in the construction phase where the wall is not actually there, so you can completely cover the electrical outlet with the putty pad, closing off all the holes in the electrical outlet. Number 6, thicker drywall. Drywall is extremely common in any type of construction, and with so many different variation, it just makes sense for people who are soundproofing a room to look into different options. The type of drywall that you should use if you're trying to soundproof a wall or ceiling is 5/8" drywall. Typically in a house you will have 1/2" drywall, but of course 5/8" is a little thicker and sturdier than the 1/2" drywall and will work a lot better to stop sound from going through the wall. There is an actual product that is called Quiet Rock that comes in 5/8" sheets of drywall, and it actually works a little bit better to kill sound. The way it actually works is there's a thin layer of soundproofing material inside the drywall that is more resistant than anything else on the market. This basically means that it has reduced ability to transmit sound waves that comes into contact with the wall. Just making the adjustments from standard drywall to this can be a noticeable difference. The way that I would do it is 2 layers of drywall. Most people, you'll already have your wall completed, so just add a second layer of drywall. What you can do is you can use green glue noise proofing compound behind the new layer of drywall, stick it on the wall, and you're good to go. The second thing you can do is use what is called a resilient channel, which leads us to number 7, resilient channel. A resilient channel is used when installing walls and ceiling as part of a soundproofing design. The channel is meant to isolate drywall from any of the framing stud-work, killing sound waves significantly. A typical resilient channel is a thin piece of metal that might not seem like much, but it does just enough to offer separation. Depending on how many walls need soundproofing, it can end up costing a decent amount of money. The installation process for resilient channel is fairly straightforward for a person who is trying to do it themselves. It just involves some basic measuring and lining things up properly so that everything fits. I'll have links in the description below of articles on our website that explains how to install a resilient channel. I'll also have a video link above that leads you to one of my videos talking in great details about resilient channel. So make sure to go visit that video. The next one to talk about is mass loading vinyl. It doesn't take very long if you're starting to research soundproofing to come across something called mass loading vinyl, or MLV for short. It's perhaps one of the best tools of them all for adding a pretty significant amount of mass to the wall, floors, and ceiling. And this is all done without adding bulk. What makes this such a great option is that it's thin and flexible. There's a lot of other products that might be usable, but while they block sound well, they don't really fit into so many different setups. Mass loading vinyl can block sound extremely well, and it is flexible enough to work on more than just walls. Some people use MLV around pipes, air ducts, and other places that have a lot of curvatures. If it sounds like this stuff is too good to be true, there is one caveat that people need to keep in mind. this stuff is quite expensive, so lining an entire home with MLV is quite unrealistic for most people. There are growing numbers of options that are coming from different manufacturers, which is lowering the price a bit. So don't be afraid to look into different prices out there and see what ends up working. And of course, I'll have a link in the description below of the MLV that I recommend. Number 9, acoustic mineral wool insulation. The best type of product for any kind of construction has multiple purposes. The goal with any insulation in a home is to stop air from seeping through. This insulation works very well for that, but it also does an excellent job of helping kill sound as well. Some people argue between acoustic mineral wool and something called batt insulation as the two best options to control sound. Batt might provide a better soundproofing value, but people still gravitate towards acoustic mineral wool insulation. Keep in mind that insulation will react differently in different homes, so try out a setup first before deciding. Number 10, floor mats. So most people, when they think about soundproofing a home, they think of walls, ceilings, doors, windows, but sometimes you just want to make something sound quieter, which is something that would create a lot of vibration, like let's say a washing machine or a dryer. While there are these types of floor mats that are specifically made to put underneath a washer and dryer. So these types of floor mats will significantly reduce vibrations and help out a lot for any type of appliance that is making the noise. So how do they help? Well, by reducing vibration. An appliance stabilizes quite a bit and sound does not echo through the entire house. An appliance that is vibrating a lot can also pass sound along the walls, other furniture, and more. All of a sudden, one noisy appliance is making noise that is filling up a room or even an entire home. Number 11, soundproofing wallpaper and paint. There are some people who firmly believe that soundproofing wallpaper and paint can actually help, while others are not quite as convinced. There are a number of options out there for people who want to try them out, and there is an opportunity to see some results. The first thing to realize is that using wallpaper or paint to soundproof is not going to be the only method. Most of the time, people are using other methods, and this is just used for the finishing touches. People need to put wallpaper or paint anyways, so why not use an option that is supposed to help with soundproofing? So soundproofing paint does help a little bit, but the one trick is to actually make it work is to add 3 coats, at least 3 coats. I won't go into too much details about soundproofing paint, but if you do want to learn more, there's a link to a video that I talk about all the facts on soundproofing paint. Number 12 is acoustic panels. Now, I'm sure that you know what acoustic panels are. They're these little foam. I have these left over from a video that I made on how to transform a closet into a recording booth. So acoustic panels are in the soundproofing material category, but you don't really use them to soundproof a room. You want to use them to get rid of an echo in a room and make a room sound a lot better. You'll notice in a lot of recording studios, and just if you watch YouTube videos and people just talking like I do, they usually have them on the wall behind them. It just makes everything sound better. It prevents sound waves from bouncing everywhere on the wall and ceiling and hard floors. So these acoustic panels that I have back here were around $12 or $13 for a pack of 24, which is relatively inexpensive. But they're only good to make a room sound better. They're not really something to put on a wall to stop sound from passing through the wall. So that's one thing. You have to know what to use them for. Number 13, weather stripping. It might not seem like that big of a deal, but weather stripping is an excellent thing to soundproof a door. And even windows, of course. But really, to soundproof a door, I use Weatherstrip on any door that I'd want to soundproof. For doors and windows that are opened and close a lot, going with hollow rubber weather stripping tape might be the best way to go. They compress when the windows and doors are closed, which forms a very tight seal. The seal will not only keep outdoor weather for windows from coming in, but it does an excellent job at handling any sound as well. Make sure to clean the area around the door as much as possible before applying any of the weather stripping. This will allow for a much easier application as well as removal if it doesn't work out. Weather stripping is not only going to make a lot of people happy from a sound perspective, but it also helps tremendously with weather as well. This is especially true if the door that you're going to be using it on leads directly outdoors. And now number 14 is a door sweep, and the ones that I recommend are the ones with a rubber bottom. The rubber door sweeps are the most dependable as the material is dense enough to stop sound from coming in. The only downfall is that they do not have nearly the same shelf life because every time the door is moving, it scrapes up against the floor. If durability is a major concern, the dense brush sweep also does a decent job. The good news is that either option is pretty inexpensive, so if one does not end up working, the other one will probably do the trick. Make sure to do all of the proper measurements beforehand, saving some time and energy when it comes to the installation process. And finally, number 15 is furniture, household items, and more. The final soundproofing material to make this list doesn't really count as specific to soundproofing. However, there is something to be said for filling up a room and strategically doing so in order to reduce sound. If a room or home doesn't sound exactly right, it comes down to not having the right layout. If rooms are too empty or there are too many flat surfaces that are easy for sound to bounce off, it just makes no sense to not do something about it. Use furniture and household items to spread out across the home to kill sound naturally. It might make more of a difference than you might think. Another thing that makes the room sound better is an area rug. So if you have big plush furniture, having an extra big area rug to help stop sound from bouncing everywhere, it will also help if somebody's in the basement or in the bottom level. It will also make the footsteps sound a lot less. Thank you very much for watching. As I said before, if you like this type of content, consider subscribing to our channel, and also don't hesitate to leave us a comment with all of your soundproofing questions. I will do my best to answer all of them. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.